I was still holding my bouquet when my sister picked up the mic and said, "To the bride, who didn't know she was the other woman." The room fell silent so fast it felt like the air had been vacuumed out. People turned. Forks froze midair. My groom, Ethan, laughed awkwardly like she was joking. He raised his champagne flute toward her, lips parting to say something, but no words came, because her next sentence landed like a punch in the gut. "He proposed to me first." I didn't even feel the glass slip from my hand, just the cold sting of bubbly soaking my dress. Let me rewind. Ethan and I met at a networking event 2 years ago. I was in marketing, he was in tech, product lead for a rising AI startup. He had charm, a sardonic wit, and this calm, magnetic presence that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. I fell fast and hard. My sister, Leela, had always been skeptical of men, especially mine. She'd joke about him being too polished, too good to be true. I thought it was just the overprotective big sister vibe. I thought she was just jealous. Ethan and I got engaged last Christmas. He proposed on a snow-covered bridge in Vermont, our families watching from the lodge balcony. Leela didn't clap. She stared, her face unreadable. In the months that followed, she was weird about wedding planning, distant, sometimes helpful, sometimes flaking. I chalked it up to her busy schedule. She's a therapist. She carries people's trauma like shadows stitched to her sleeves. I didn't push. But she was there for the bachelorette weekend, took me to Miami, cheered with tequila shots, even cried during our last night together. "I just want you to be happy," she whispered into my shoulder. I didn't know what she really meant. Back to the wedding. After her toast detonated over the room like a grenade, Ethan stood frozen, still holding the stem of his glass like a man trying not to drown. His mother gasped. My father stood up and barked, "Leela, what the hell are you talking about?" And Leela? She reached into her purse and pulled out a fucking burner phone. No lock screen, no passcode. She held it up like a damn courtroom exhibit. "I found this in his glove compartment 3 weeks ago. Photos, messages, voicemails. Not just with me, but with others." I swear I couldn't breathe. Someone knocked over a chair. Ethan's best man tried to whisper something to him, but got ignored. My hands trembled as I reached out, slowly, for the phone. Leela didn't hand it to me. She just clicked it on and turned it around. The home screen wallpaper was a photo of Ethan, shirtless, kissing someone. Someone that wasn't me. My stomach dropped. The woman was barely in frame, just the side of her face, her hair. But it wasn't Leela either. That's when I knew this was way worse than a love triangle. This was a web, a fucking network of lies. I opened my mouth to ask who the woman was when something even more insane happened. A notification popped up, an Instagram tag, a blurry selfie taken hours earlier. Caption, "He said I do to me first. #weddingcrasher." And the tag? It wasn't me. It was her. Whoever she was, my name wasn't even mentioned. I turned to Ethan, who'd gone pale as parchment, sweat dotting his collar.
The priest hit the floor with a dull thud, and for a split second, that was all anyone could focus on. Someone screamed, someone else yelled to call 911, and Ethan lurched forward like he might help. But I wasn't watching the priest. I was watching the panic bloom in Ethan's eyes as the burner phone slipped from Lila's hand and hit the floor. The screen cracked. But not before the tag notification lit up again. The same girl. Same username, @real Mrs. Caldwell. Mrs. Caldwell. That was supposed to be my name. My legs buckled, but I caught myself on the edge of the cake table. Behind me, the DJ had killed the music, the room buzzing now only with whispers and confusion. "Pick it up," I hissed at Ethan. "Pick up the phone now." He didn't move. So Lila did. She scooped it from the floor like she was holding a weapon.
You want to know who she is? She asked, holding it out like a mirror. Swipe left. He saved her under the name Daisy, but her real name's... I swear to God, Lila, don't, Ethan snapped, his voice cracking. Oh, now he speaks. She swiped. I saw the camera roll flash open, dozens of images cascading across the screen like someone's sins laid out for cataloging. There were selfies of him in bed, voice messages with names like meet again soon and can't stop thinking about you. But the worst was the video. She tapped it. It opened full screen. Ethan, shirtless, laughing. You sure your sister won't find out? A woman's voice purrs behind the camera, and Ethan's voice, unmistakable, replies, Who, Maddie? She's too obsessed with the wedding to notice anything else. My mouth went dry, my vision pinholed. Maddie, that's me. Ethan was talking about me, to someone else, in bed. There was a flash of the woman's hand in the corner of the video as she reached for him. A distinct tattoo curled around her index finger, 3 small birds in flight. I'd seen that tattoo before, at the engagement party. She was there. She was my wedding planner. Oh my God. Jessa. Her name was Jessa. I'd hugged her this morning. I'd let her adjust my veil, fluff my dress, tell me how magical today would be. I whipped around and scanned the room. Her clipboard was on a chair near the back, but she wasn't there. Just the lingering scent of her perfume. Something expensive and floral. I'd always liked it. Lila leaned in. That's not even the worst part. I stared at her. She looked tired. Not smug, not triumphant, just wrecked. He used the same burner phone to talk to me too. I blinked. What? Her eyes filled. After your engagement, he reached out, said it should have been me, that he made a mistake, and I didn't answer at first. I wanted to come to you, but then he sent photos. I felt the room tilt again. Lila clicked on a message thread. Images loaded. Some were from last fall, him and her, kissing, holding hands. My sister. The man I was marrying. Together. I couldn't breathe. My chest was caving in. But I didn't sleep with him, Maddie, Lila whispered, her voice raw. I almost did. He begged. He said he'd call off the wedding. Said you were just a safe bet. Stop, I said. I couldn't tell you, not like this. But when I saw Jessa tag him instead of you on your day, I realized he was never going to stop. He was never going to choose you. I looked at Ethan. He wasn't begging. He wasn't denying. He was just gone. Blank-eyed. Dead silent. Like all of this had been inevitable. Like he'd been waiting for it to fall apart. I opened my mouth to scream. At him, at Lila, at the world. But before I could, a new voice rang out. I've got more. Everyone turned. And there she was, Jessa. Wedding clipboard still in hand. But she wasn't alone. She was holding a baby, and she was walking straight towards me.
The baby was in a white lace onesie, clutching a pacifier shaped like a rose. Jessa's hair was still pinned in a perfect bun, her eyeliner untouched by tears, like none of this was chaos, and she hadn't just detonated my entire life in front of 200 wedding guests. She stopped just a few feet from me. This is Ava, she said softly, her voice carrying. No one breathed. She's 16 months old, and Ethan is her father. The air turned solid. I could feel every stare, every heartbeat pounding like war drums. Lila made a sound like someone choking back vomit. My dad sat down hard, gripping the back of a chair like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Ethan still hadn't moved, not an inch. I stared at the baby. Brown curls, big hazel eyes, dimple in her left cheek. Ethan's dimple. No, I whispered. No, you said you couldn't have kids. That was one of our first serious conversations on our 5th date. I'd told him about my dreams of being a mom, and he'd said he'd had a surgery when he was younger, something medical. He made it sound tragic. I lied, he said. Just that. No explanation, no shame. Just flat honesty delivered far too late. You had a baby with my wedding planner. And what? Kept it a secret? Hoped I wouldn't notice? She wasn't supposed to keep her, Ethan muttered suddenly. That froze me. What the fuck did you just say? I paid her, he said louder now, to handle it quietly. She said she'd take care of it, but then she ghosted me. Changed numbers, showed up again when we hired her. I thought she was bluffing. Oh my God, Jessa said, disgusted. You really want to go there? She yanked her phone out her bag and pulled up her own photo album. More pictures, hospital wristbands, DNA test screenshots, money transfers. I didn't ghost you, Ethan. You blocked me. You didn't want her to find out, she gestured toward me. You told me to keep quiet, and I did until I saw the wedding post and realized you were going to pretend she didn't exist forever. The room spun again. I wanted to scream. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. I looked at the burner phone still in Lila's hand. The screen blinked. Another message. From a contact saved as New York Hotel, Chloe. Still thinking about last week. When can I see you again? Jessa let out a dry laugh. Oh, look, another one. Should we invite her to the after party? That broke something in me. I picked up the wedding cake knife. Not to use it, just to feel real, like I could still hold something, anything. And then my eyes caught the screen again. A saved draft. An unsent message. I swiped it open before I could stop myself. It was addressed to Lila. I was serious about what I said before. If she backs out, it's you I'll marry. Just don't fuck this up. Lila's mouth dropped open. You said, she gasped, you said I was crazy, that I made it all up. I needed her to say yes, he said, voice flat. You were backup. You always were. That's when she slapped him. Loud, open palm, echoed across the entire venue. Gasps. Silence. Even the baby went quiet. And Ethan? He just stood there. No apology, no expression. Just broken. I was still gripping the cake knife when Jessa turned to me. I didn't come to ruin your life, but you needed to know who he really is. We all did. The baby started to cry. She bounced her gently and turned to leave. But just before stepping out of the venue, she said one last thing. I wasn't the one who tagged him. And then she was gone. That's when Lila grabbed the burner phone again. Her face had gone ghost white. She clicked into the tagged post, paused, zoomed again, and then she whispered. Oh my God, Maddie, look at the location tag. I leaned in. It wasn't the venue. It wasn't even the city. It was our old high school auditorium, the place Ethan and I first kissed. But that wasn't the worst part. The post was scheduled, set to publish at the exact moment we were saying our vows. It had been pre-planned.
Who the hell schedules a betrayal? Lila's voice cracked as she handed me the burner phone, her fingers trembling. The screen still showed the Instagram post's metadata, uploaded 2 days ago, scheduled to go live during my vows, geotagged to the auditorium where Ethan and I had our first kiss. He didn't just cheat, he curated it, like a gallery of pain. The post was a grainy image, probably taken in secret, with Ethan blurry in the background, smiling at someone. The caption still burned in my brain. He said I do to me first. And that overlay tag? She tagged him, not me. Ethan wasn't looking at me in that photo. He never had been. Lila sank into the nearest chair, burying her face in her hands. He told me I was crazy when I said I felt like he was always looking through you. Now I knew why. Because he'd already decided I was a decoy, a distraction, a clean image for the outside world while he maintained a separate, dirty network underneath. I turned back toward Ethan. He was sitting now too, on the steps of the stage, face slack, eyes vacant, like someone had unplugged him from reality. "You planned this?" I asked, holding up the phone like it was Exhibit A in his trial. "You scheduled a tag for the exact moment we were saying vows?" He didn't answer, so I screamed it. "Answer me!" Finally, his mouth opened. "Marketing," he muttered. "What?" "It's just branding, Maddie. You never would have left me if I didn't force the truth. This way, you get to be the victim. Everyone pities you. People root for victims." Lila gasped. "You're psychotic!" "I'm strategic," he snapped. "Everything I've built, my job, my following, my image, it's a system. You were part of that system. You, the wedding, the aesthetic, but it couldn't last, not with all the noise." The noise? I couldn't juggle all of it anymore, so I let the cards fall where they may. Clean exit, viral moment, you'll get sympathy, I'll get freedom. Everyone wins. The room went still. It wasn't just cheating, it was sabotage. Engineered, market-tested, branded betrayal. I glanced around at the wreckage of the venue. Guests whispering, family members crying, the priest still being tended to in the corner, half the catering staff awkwardly loitering near the exits, and him, sitting there like a ghost in his own disaster. That's when I realized he didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He thought he'd played the game well. "You used me," I whispered. "You used all of us." He tilted his head, almost curious. "And you still would have married me." A cold clarity snapped through me. He wasn't just a cheater, he was dangerous. Then Jessa reappeared at the side door. She didn't come back inside, just hovered for a second, then slipped a small box through the doorframe onto the floor and vanished again. It was Ethan's actual phone, not the burner, the real one. Lila rushed forward, snatched it up, and unlocked it using Face ID. Ethan was too stunned to stop her. Within seconds, she pulled up a folder labeled simply Strategy. It had timestamps, calendar invites, drafted emails, messages labeled Damage Control if Caught, Lila Version A, Maddie, Wedding Narrative, Baby Spin, Jessa Denial Backup Plan. I grabbed the phone from her and scrolled. There were even mock social media captions. "Life is messy, love is complicated. I did what I had to do to protect the people I care about. You don't know the full story. Don't believe everything you read." Scheduled, strategized, scripted. A betrayal so premeditated it had a press kit. I glanced at Lila, eyes wide. He wasn't just cheating, he was planning his own redemption arc. That's when the second tag notification popped up. Another woman, another photo, same burner phone. This one showed Ethan at a hotel rooftop bar yesterday. Not Miami, here, local. Different woman, same kiss. And the caption? "You ready to be honest yet, babe?" I finally understood what I needed to do. I grabbed the mic, turned to the room. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "please don't leave just yet." Ethan's head whipped around. "I'd like to invite you all to a new kind of reception." The screen behind me, the one we'd set up to run a slideshow of our memories, was still on. I walked over to the tech table, loaded the USB backup from Lila's bag, and clicked into the newly prepared file, the Strategy folder, and hit play. Photos, messages, videos, all of it, projected behind me, in front of everyone. And I stood there, in my wedding dress, and let it burn.
The first image hit the projector screen like a hammer. Ethan, shirtless, smirking. Caption, "If she finds out, I'll just spin it."
A collective gasp rolled through the crowd. Then silence. Hot, electric silence, so loud it felt like thunder in my ears. Slide after slide flickered by. Texts with Jessa, with Leela, with at least 3 other women, each in their own separate message threads, each labeled by city and mood. I'm not joking. Rachel, NYC, passion. M, Denver, chill. Leela, legacy play. And then Maddie, optics. The final image stayed longer than the rest. It was a selfie. Ethan standing in front of a mirror in a tuxedo. Mine, the wedding one. Same bow tie, same boutonniere. Captioned, "Last day of the Maddie show, season finale tonight." The room lost it. Aunt Marianne screamed, someone dropped a wine glass, the wedding planner's assistant burst into tears, and I swear the DJ said, "Jesus fucking Christ," under his breath before sprinting out the back. I looked at Ethan. He still hadn't moved. His mouth hung open like he was watching a building collapse in slow motion. Maybe he was, because that's what I had become. Not his bride, his reckoning. I turned to the guests, half expecting people to leave. But they stayed. They stayed because they couldn't look away. Ethan tried to speak, but his voice cracked. This is fake. You edited it. This is a setup." Leela tossed the burner phone onto the center of the floor like a gauntlet. "Then explain why your face unlocks this." He rushed forward, grabbed it, tried to smash it. Too late. Dozens of guests had already pulled out their own phones, recording, live streaming, tagging. Someone yelled, "Check Twitter!" And I did. The hashtag was already trending. Hashtag Maddie exposed him. Not Maddie got exposed. No, Maddie exposed him. It was the difference between humiliation and vindication, and I was finally holding the mic. I walked toward Ethan slowly, the hem of my dress dragging through the shattered glass of our wedding flutes. I said, "You wanted this to go viral. You scheduled it. You orchestrated every move, every line, every tag." He looked up at me, small now, cornered, and suddenly aware that the script had slipped from his hands. "Well," I whispered, "you just got your wish." And then the alert came in. A notification pinged on the projector. Someone had airdropped a file to the laptop running the screen. A stranger. No name, just the tag. Unknown iPhone. Accept? The message blinked. I didn't hesitate. I clicked yes. A new photo appeared, grainy from a high angle, taken across the room. My wedding, earlier that day. Jessa, Leela, Ethan. All 3 in one frame, angled subtly. Except there was another woman. Behind them. Watching. Staring. In focus. Wearing a bridesmaid's dress. But she wasn't one of mine. Someone in the crowd gasped, "That's Dana." "Who?" "Ethan's coworker from the product team. I thought she wasn't invited." Leela's head whipped toward me. "Oh my God, Maddie, she wasn't just here to spectate." I zoomed in on the photo. Dana was holding something. A second burner phone. My breath caught. "Leela," I said slowly, "do you remember how Ethan used to always complain about burnout?" "Yeah?" "Product launches. High stress. So he'd disappear for days at a time." Her eyes widened. Oh, shit. I opened my own phone, pulled up the startup's Instagram page. The last post Ethan had made, 6 days ago. A photo of a launch event. Captioned, "She's the real MVP behind it all. I couldn't have done this without her." And tagged, @Dana Viper. The caption had hearts, inside jokes,
even a flame emoji. Ethan wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. He didn't need to, because he thought he'd already won. But now the internet was watching. The story was spreading. The live stream was still running. And just when I thought I had no more energy to rage, to grieve, to fight, the priest stood up, groggy, pale, and he said clearly and without irony, "I'm legally required to ask, do you still wish to be wed?" The room went completely still, and I smiled for the first time that day. "No," I said, "but I've got a few vows to make."
I stepped back to the mic, ignoring the debris of the wedding that never was scattered around me. Petals, place cards, broken champagne flutes. The priest's voice still hung in the air like smoke. "Do you still wish to be wed?" I wrapped my fingers around the mic. "No," I said, my voice slicing clean through the silence. "But I do have a few vows." Every eye locked on me. Even Ethan lifted his head. "I vow," I began, "to never again confuse charisma with character." A few guests murmured. Someone clapped once, awkwardly. "I vow to stop letting other people narrate my life for me, especially ones who call betrayal as strategy and think lying is just a side hustle." I glanced at Ethan. He looked wrecked now, sweaty, pale, his cufflinks undone, his lips twitching in the corners like he couldn't decide if he should apologize or run. I kept going. "I vow to never again romanticize the man who manipulated my sister, my wedding planner, and my coworkers into believing they were all the one at the same time." Ethan took a breath to speak. "Don't," I said sharply. "You had your vows written. I read them. They weren't even about me, just about how I made you look stable and how I balanced your brand." Someone behind me, probably my cousin, whispered, "Holy shit! I vow to rebuild myself out of truth. Not aesthetics, not hashtags. Me. The version of me that doesn't need to shrink for someone else to shine." I took one final breath and looked around. "You can all stay. There's food, drinks, music. Just because the wedding is canceled doesn't mean the celebration has to be." People cheered, like actual applause. The caterer stepped back in from the hallway. Leela let out a laugh that turned into a sob. The DJ gave me a thumbs up and queued up Flowers by Miley Cyrus. And Ethan? He stood there like a statue in the wrong museum, watching as the crowd moved on without him, watching as his audience defected in real time. Don't you dare walk out like you're the victim. But he didn't walk. He lunged. Straight for the tech table. He grabbed the laptop running the projector and yanked it down hard, slamming it against the floor. The screen shattered. A ripple of gasps. Some people backed away. One groomsman tried to stop him, but Ethan shoved him aside. "This is defamation! You set me up! You think you'll get away with this? You think this makes you look like the good guy?" Leela stepped in front of me. And then, finally, Dana emerged from the crowd. Cool, calm, dead-eyed. "Oh, Ethan," she said. His face collapsed. "Dana," she said. "I was going to delete everything," she said. "I loved you, you know. I thought you were just messy, but human. You lied to me too. And now you're finished." She held up her phone. "Recording. He's violent, erratic, verbally abusive. This is not a safe man," she said aloud, broadcasting to her Instagram live audience of 14,000 followers. "Dana, please," Ethan begged, a hint of desperation cracking through. This is a misunderstanding." "No," she said. "It's a documentary now.
And with that, she walked away. The rest followed. One by one, they left him behind. Not me. I stood in my ruined dress, champagne-stained and lopsided, makeup smudged, hair wild, and I owned it. Leela hugged me hard. You were supposed to start a life today. I did, just not the one I thought. Then she looked at me, eyes widening. Wait, where's Jessa? I scanned the room. Gone. The baby too. No trace. And then from across the venue, someone called out, "You need to see this." It was the photographer. She held up her camera and waved me over. I found something on the first roll, she said, handing me the preview screen. This was right before the ceremony. I looked. It was a picture of Ethan, whispering to Jessa, behind the tent right before the music started. But it wasn't just the image. It was the timestamp, 3 minutes before the vows. And in the background, barely visible, was Dana, holding a phone, recording them. There was video. There was more. I turned to Leela. We haven't seen the last of him. And in my heart, I knew it. Ethan Caldwell hadn't just broken hearts. He'd built an empire of betrayal. And empires, they never fall quietly.
2 weeks later, I woke up to 20 missed calls and a cease and desist letter in my inbox. Ethan had finally lawyered up. The subject line read, unauthorized release of private communications. I laughed out loud. That same morning, the clip of me rejecting him at the altar hit 2.3 million views. TikTok had dubbed it the realest wedding ever. The Instagram tag, #she tagged him, not me. The irony burned like acid. Because that was always Ethan's problem. He thought he controlled the narrative. But he forgot the oldest rule in storytelling. The villain never gets the last word. I didn't respond to his letter. My lawyer did. And she was thrilled. You don't sue the person holding the receipts. You beg them to stop posting. Instead, I posted more. Not to humiliate him, but to reclaim my timeline. 1 post a day. Not of Ethan, of me, rebuilding. My dress? Donated. The catering turned into a surprise block party. People still talk about the mushroom ravioli. The venue gave me a full refund after the footage aired. And Lila? She moved in with me. We're not just sisters again, we're co-creators now. We launched a podcast, Burner Brides. Tagline, we check the phones so you don't have to. We booked sponsors in under a week. Jessa hasn't contacted me, but her lawyer did. She wanted to offer a truce, proof Ethan coerced her into silence, screenshots, voicemails, and a folder titled The Real Proposal. Inside, a video. Ethan, on one knee, to her. Timestamp, 6 weeks before he proposed to me. I nearly dropped my phone. He rehearsed the speech with her, said the same lines, called her his soulmate, used my name by accident. Jessa had filmed it, just in case, she said. That file never made it to social media. I kept it private, because by then, something in me had shifted. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about clearing space for what mattered. Healing, laughing, feeling things without second-guessing myself. Even dating again. Yeah, I went on a date with someone who actually listened, who didn't flinch when I said I needed honesty like oxygen. But the moment that truly ended it all came later. I was at a friend's gallery opening. Some artist had done a piece based on viral wedding disasters. There were photos printed on canvas. One looked familiar. Too familiar. It was me, standing in my torn dress, eyes red, microphone in hand. The moment I took the story back, captioned in soft white text, she tagged him, not me. I stared at it for a long time. It didn't hurt. It felt like closure. Not because the world saw what he did, but because I saw what I survived. And I had a new vow. No more shrinking, no more performing, no more letting someone else hold the pen. Because this time,
I write the story, and it doesn't start with love, it starts with truth.